So next thing what we discuss here is the nanomaterial synthesis and processing. So how these nanomaterials are synthesized and it is being processed. Okay. So we're going to discuss those two things in details now. Nanomaterial synthesis and processing. Generally, in this topic, we discuss the various methods in which the nanomaterials can be synthesized and processed. So, for each method, we need to discuss what is the basic principle behind that and what is the procedure it is being involved, and we need to understand what are the advantages and disadvantages of each processes, and also the applications of each process. Okay. So this is what we are going to discuss in the nanomaterials and nano material synthesis as well as the nano processing. Right. So let us start with now the first one. The methods for creating nanostructures. In nanoparticle synthesis, there are two approaches for synthesis of nanomaterials and the fabrication of nanostructures. The two approaches we generally call it as the top-down approach, another one is called bottom-up approach. So bottom-up approach is also called self-assembly approach. So when you look at this picture over here, we have shown how the nanomaterials are synthesized. So when you look at the picture itself, I think you can easily understand what is the difference between the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach. And in the sense, so how you can synthesize the nanomaterials by using top-down approach and how we can do bottom-up approach. See what happens when you look at the top-down approach here. So this is the nanoparticles. So NP is called nanoparticles. So these nanoparticles are obtained. See, from the left side, you have a top-down approach. On to the right side, you have a bottom-up approach. In the left side, so if you look at in the top-down approach, refers to a slicing or a successive cutting of a bulk material to get a nano-sized particle. So top-down. So maximum you have a bulk material. So the bulk material has been sliced or it has been successively cut to get a nano-sized particle. So this is the bulk material, and bulk material is being processed. Processed in the sense it has been sliced or it has been cut many times. So where you will go into get the nanoparticles. Slicing or successive cutting of a bulk material to get a nano-sized particle. That approach we call it as the top-down approach. On to the right side, if you look at here, so we call it as a bottom-up approach, or we can also call that as a self-assembly approach. So what happens in the bottom-down approach, bottom-up approach, is the bottom-up approach refers to the build-up of a material from a bottom, that is by atom, molecule by molecule. So you are building from the smallest particle of a matter, what we call it as an atom. So then by molecule. So atom leads to the molecules and molecules leads to the matter. So in the bottom-up approach, so we start building up the material from the bottom. So we start from the atom will get bonded together to the one atom and they will form a molecule. Molecule gets attached to the molecule, they will go to form a matter. The structure will go to leads to the matter. So this is what the bottom-up approach. The atom by atom deposition leads to the formation of a self-assembly of atoms or molecules and clusters. In the sense, see what happens, so what we discussed in the previous slides in the morning, so where the two atoms, they will start bonding together of their own breed. That's what we were talking in the morning about bottom-up approach. So atoms and by atom deposition leads to the formation of self-assembly of atoms. So atoms of the same breed will get self chemically they get assembled together, okay, and they will form the molecules and they will start forming the clusters. These clusters come together to form a self-assembled monolayers on the surface of the substrate. In the sense, these clusters, they start coming on the layer, monolayer, assembled in the monolayer on the surface of the substrate, they will form a single layer. Like that, each layer will be built one by one and they will go to form the nano particles or a nano material. This is the basic principle behind the nanoparticle synthesis. Okay. So the same thing what we are having here. In the top-down approach techniques, the starting material is a solid state. So in the case of a top-down approach, initially the material will be in the form, the starting material will be in the form of a solid state. So whereas in the case of a bottom-up approach, the starting material is either a gaseous state or a liquid state of matter. So please remember that is the difference between the most important difference between top-down approach and bottom-up approach. In the case of a top-down approach, the starting material will be a solid. That's what we talked about in the previous slide. It is a bulk material which can be sliced successively or it has been cut successively or it has been sliced to get a nanoparticles. So therefore, the initial starting material for obtaining the nanomaterial by top-down approach will be always, it is a solid state. Whereas in the case of a bottom-up approach techniques, the starting material is either a gaseous state or a liquid state of matter. Okay. The physical processing methods under top-down approach. So we have physical processing methods which is in the form of a mechanical methods which might be cutting, etching, grinding, ball milling. And of course lithographic techniques, photolithography, electron beam lithography. So these are the two different physical processing methods what we have under top-down approach. When it comes for a bottom-up approach, the physical and chemical processing methods. It has also have physical as well as chemical techniques. Under physical techniques, we have physical vapor deposition (PVD), which involves condensation of vapor phase species and evaporation, puttering, plasma arcing, and laser ablation. So these are the different physical techniques which comes under bottom-up approach. And apart from that, we have other chemical techniques also. Chemical techniques which may be in the form of a CVD, which we call it as a deposition of vapor phase of reaction species, PECVD, okay, self-assembled monolayer, electrolytic deposition, sol gel method, micro emulsion route, or pyrolysis. So these are the different chemical techniques what we are having under bottom-up approach. Okay, so physical approach and chemical approach, both type of approaches are there. Methods are there under bottom-up approach, whereas in the case of a top-down approach, we have only physical processing methods. So of course, this type of types of methods we will going to discuss in details in the latest. Okay. And here you can see the top-down versus bottom-up. The top-down process start with a bulk wafer. Okay. So whereas in the bottom-up approach, start with a bulk wafer again. So apply the layer of photoresist here. Alter area of wafer where structure is to be created by adding polymer or a seed crystals or other techniques here. Okay, here we are applying a photoresist across this, and then here we we're going to alter the area of wafer, where structure is to be created by adding polymer or seed crystals or other techniques. And in the third stage, expose wafer with ultraviolet light through mask and etch wafer. Okay, whereas here, grow or assemble the structure on the area. Etched wafer with the desired pattern. So this is we are getting by using the etching. So the etching is a one physical processing what chemically we are discussed for top-down approach. This is called etching process. Okay, so in etching process, so we are going to start with a bulk wafer. You will apply the photoresist and then we'll expose the wafer with UV light to the mask and etch the wafer and etch the wafer with the desired pattern. So here, what happens, grow or assemble the structure in the area determined by the seed crystals or polymer is called self-assembly. This is just one comparison what they have shown with the top-down versus bottom-up. And coming to the last slide in top-down and bottom-down approach comparison, the advantages and disadvantages. So under top-down approach, the advantages are it is used for large-scale production. Deposition over a large substrate is possible and chemical purification is not required. Okay, that is the one major advantage of top-down approach. When it comes to the disadvantages of top-down approach, it yields a broad size distribution. So you cannot have lesser size, you can go up to 10 to 1000 nanometers and varied particle shapes or geometry. So you cannot get the particles of uniform size and uniform shape. Shape and size cannot be uniform. Control over deposition parameters is difficult to achieve. So it's not possible. It's while you are using top-down approach, it's not easy to control the deposition parameters. Impurities, stresses, defects, and imperfections gets introduced. So possibilities of inclusion of an foreign material, what we call it as an impurities, and of course it can have stresses. Defects are the most important thing what we can observe in top-down approach, and imperfections, and it is an expensive technique. So top-down approach is a little bit expensive. So this is the advantages and disadvantages of top-down approach. When it comes to the bottom-up approach, we have advantages, ultra-fine nanoparticles, nanoshells, nanotubes can be prepared. So this is a process where we can get the nano or ultra-fine nanoparticles, nanoshells, nanotubes, and deposition parameters can be controlled. This is one of the most important advantage of bottom-up approaches. So the control of deposition parameters is in our hands. So you can control depending upon what type of what kind of what shape, what size it is will require, and what should be the bonding strength between the two particles. Everything it is in our hand. Okay. Narrow size distribution is possible and it is cheaper in technique. So narrow size means you can go up to 1 to 20 nanometers, which is highly impossible in a top-down approach. You can go up to the nano of 1 to 20 nanometers, the size of 1 to 20 nanometers, so that you can obtain by using this bottom-up approach. And relatively, they are cheaper in technique. These are some of the advantages of the bottom-up approach. When it comes to the disadvantages, large-scale production is difficult. You cannot produce in bulk. Chemical purification of nanoparticle is required. So chemical purification is the most important thing that needs to be taken care while you are synthesizing nanoparticles using bottom-up. So these are the two disadvantages of bottom-up approach. So the comparison is very important. You should be in a position to know what is the difference between the top-down approach and the bottom-up approach. Okay, I hope you people are able to follow these things. Okay, so please try to uh, make the difference between these two. Yeah, move to the next one, what we call as the production process for producing ultrafine powders. This is a mechanical grinding, which is basically it is a top-down approach. Okay. Yeah. Now let us start with the process, what we call it as the process for producing ultrafine powders. The ultrafine powders were using mechanical grinding. So one of the most familiar process is the ball milling. So where you can produce the ultrafine powders. So this ball milling has been thoroughly investigated in the various conditions of energy transfer to identify the mechanisms by which material deformed to produce nanometer-sized grains, characterize the intergranular and intragranular effects of nanograin ground powders, and measure the resulting changes in properties with respect to those of the coarse elements for instance mechanical magnetic hydrogen storage capacity. Yeah, so this ball milling is one of the most commonly used processing methods for producing ultrafine powders. So where in various conditions of energy transfer, so you can deform the material to produce nanometer size grains and characterize the granular of nanograin ground powders. This can characterize the intergranular and intragranular defects, and you can measure the resulting changes in the properties with respect to those of coarse grain. Okay, and for example, what is specifying it is a mechanical magnetic hydrogen storage capacity. Popular, simple, inexpensive, and extremely scalable material to synthesize all classes of material. This is the most popular method, simple, inexpensive, and extremely scalable material. So you can produce by formula. So I think this kind of process, ball milling technique, we discussed in the powder metallurgy technique also. So where the powders are manufactured by ball milling. In a similar way, the ball milling is another one type of mechanical grinding where you are producing a very fine powder, ultra fine powders, what we can say. They can produce amorphous or non-crystalline materials. Okay? So you can use both amorphous as well as non-crystalline materials also. Next comes the mechanical attrition mechanism. This is the process which is used to obtain nanocrystalline structures from either a single phase powders or amorphous material. So this type of mechanism where you can get a nanocrystalline structures. Of course, we can use either single phase powders or amorphous materials where we can convert that into a single crystalline structures using this mechanical attrition system. And we can use either refractory balls or steel balls or plastic balls depending on the material to be synthesized. When the balls rotate at a particular RPM, the necessary energy is transferred to the powder, which in turn reduces the powder of coarse grain sized structure to ultra-fine nano-range powder. So here we can see the two refractory or steel balls. Okay. So there are two steel balls or refractory balls or plastic balls depending upon what type of material you are synthesizing. Okay. So when the balls rotate in a particular RPM, the necessary energy is transferred to the powder, which in turn reduces the powder of coarse grain sized structure to ultra fine narrow range. It is another one type of grinding. Grinding in the sense grinding between the two balls, which might be a refractory or a steel balls or a plastic balls, whatever it might be. So the energy will be transferred. The necessary energy is transferred so that the powder gets converted. The powder which is having a coarse grain size structure is being converted into an ultra fine nano range powder. If you can see this diagram over here. So this process preferably takes place in inert atmospheres because there should not be any chemical affinity for the materials with respect to the environment and gets affected with the quality or with the shape or the geometry. So generally the mechanical attrition mechanism is going to be carried out in the inert atmospheres. Yeah, the energy transferred to the powder from the ball depends on many factors such as rotational speed of the balls, size of the balls, number of balls, milling time, ratio of ball to the powder mass, milling media or atmosphere. In the sense, so when we are transferring an energy so that the powder, the coarse size powder gets converted into a nano range size powder. So during that process, during the transfer of energy, that depends on the many factors. So it might be depending upon the rotational speed of the balls, or what speed, at what RPM the balls are rotating, and what should be the size of the ball, and how many number of balls are using, and at what time you are using milling, and what is the ratio of ball to powder mass. Ratio of mass of the ball to the mass of the powder, and milling medium and the atmosphere. So these are all the factors on which the energy transferred to powder from the balls depends on. Okay. So the cryogenic liquids can be used to increase the brittleness of the powder. One has to take necessary steps to prevent oxidation during the milling process. That's what I told you, which will be carried out at an inert atmosphere. So cryogenic liquids is used to increase the brittleness of the powder. In the sense, when you want to convert coarse size into a fine size, so the material needs to be brittle. As it becomes brittle, it is easy for us to make the coarse size to a fine size. So to make material brittle, we can use cryogenic liquids. Okay. The selection of ball material induces influences the type of material obtained. Example, harder material balls softer material. Alpha alumina and zirconia are widely used ball materials due to their high grinding resistance value. The harder material ball synthesizes softer materials. The selection of ball material influences the type of material obtained. So, harder the material balls, it synthesizes the softer material, and alpha alumina and zirconia. So, these are the two ball materials that are used because of their high grinding resistance values. Advantages of ball milling. Scaling can be achieved up to tonnage quantity of materials for wide applications. Since you can produce it in a bulk, that is what they are saying. You can have a huge quantity of powders can be scaled down. Okay, so of course we can use for wider applications. Then disadvantages of ball milling. That is contamination of the milling media. Non-metal oxides require an inert medium and vacuum or glove box to use powder particles. So the milling process is destructive. The most important thing is the contamination. We have possibility of getting an unwanted material into the powder. Non-metal oxides requires inert medium, means you have to maintain the inert mediums and vacuum or glove box to use powder particles. So the milling process is a little bit risky. So these are all some of the disadvantages of ball milling. So this is one method what I wanted to discuss. Of course, it is very in the syllabus with respect to the top-down approach, where you size particles from the core okay. So from there you will get these nano-sized particles, which is basically top-down approach. Next, the bottom-up approach. So where we have wet chemical synthesis of nanomaterials. Wet chemical synthesis. I think when I discussed the process here, so it is the bottom-up approach, sol gel method, chemical technique it is. So we're starting with the bottom-up approach under which we have chemical technique, under which we have a sol gel method. So these are the methods they have specified in your syllabus. That's why particularly I have taken those methods. So not all the methods is required, only few methods they have specified, and else I have taken only those methods for the discussion. Okay? So wet chemical technique or wet chemical of nanomaterials, we just call it as a sol gel process. And it is also called as a chemical solution deposition technique or chemical technique. You can call it. This type of very high purity and homogeneous, and particularly with metal oxides nanoparticles. It will start from a chemical solution leads to the formation of colloidal suspensions known as SOL. SOL corresponds to the suspension. Starting material from a chemical solution leads to the formation of colloidal suspensions. This is called as sol. The sol evolves towards the formation of inorganic network containing liquid is called the gel. The removal of liquid phase from sol is the gel. So here, one thing what you're supposed to remember is what is sole and what is gel? The sole is nothing but the colloidal suspensions, and these colloidal suspensions will start formation of inorganic networks containing a liquid phase, and they are called gel. The removal of liquid phase from the sole yields the gel. Okay, the particle size and shape are controlled in sole gel transitions. So this is one of the most important things what you're supposed to remember when you want to convert the sole gel transition, or when you want me to have sole gel transitions. The particle size and the shape that matters a lot. So therefore, it needs to be controlled. So during this process, sole gel process, we'll have an opportunity to control the particle size as well as the shape. The thermal treatment of the gel leads to the further polycondensation reaction and hence and enhances the mechanical properties of the products. It is oxide nanoparticles. So here, the thermal treatments. Thermal treatments might be a firing or a calcination. So when you just treat the gel with the firing or calcination, that may leads to the further polycondensation. So means a polycondensation reaction where the particles will get condensed, okay, and enhances the mechanical properties of the products, oxide nanoparticles. Okay. So this is the sole stimuli change gel. Precursors, metal oxides and metal chlorides. The starting material is washed with water and dilute acid in alkaline solvent. Okay. The material undergoes hydrolysis and polycondensation reaction, which leads to the formation of colloids. It's purely, it is just like a chemistry for you. Colloidal system composed of solid particles is dispersed in a solid containing particles of size 1 meter. Okay. So the sole is then evolved to form an inorganic network containing the liquid phase called gel. Basically, the starting material will be in the form of the metal oxides or oxides or metal chlorides. And these are washed with water and dilute acid in an alkaline solvent. So when you wash it, the material undergoes hydrolysis and polycondensation reaction leads to the formation of colloids. So metals washed with water and dilute acid undergoes hydrolysis, takes place polycondensation reaction which leads to the formation of colloids. This colloid system will composed of solid particles is dispersed in a solvent containing the particles of size from 1 nanometer to 1 millimeter. In the sense, once you get a colloids, and basically these colloids will consist of solid particles. And these colloids, once you disperse, or once you say the solid particles in the colloidal systems is dispersed in a solvent, which consisting of the particles which are of the size of 1 nanometer to 1 millimeter. Just imagine 1 nanometer to 1 millimeter. The sole is evolved to form an inorganic network containing the liquid phase called gel. Okay. The sole is then evolved to form an inorganic network containing the liquid phase called gel. The sole can permit to obtain the substrate either dip coating or spin coating or case into a contained with desired shape of calcination. So once you get a sole can be further processed to obtain substrate in the film either by dip coating or by spin coating. Case contained with a desired exact shape for a powder by gas emission. A chemical reaction which takes place in the sol gel, metal alkoxides during the hydrolysis and condensation is given by. So this is the chemical reaction what you are getting here. So metal alkoxides MOR plus H2O, MOH or OH is a hydrolysis. MOR with the water leads to MOH and ROH. Okay, MOH plus ROH leads to the condensation reaction. In essence, the sol gel process usually consists of four steps. The desired colloidal particles, one dispersed in the liquid to form a sol. That is, deposition of sol solution produces the coating in the substrate by spraying, dipping or spinning. The particles in sols are polymerized through the removal of stabilizing components and produce a gel in a state of continuous network. The final heat treatment spiralizes the remaining organic or inorganic components and form an amorphous or crystalline. The four important steps is colloidal particles. Once dispersed in a liquid, they will form a sol. The deposition of a sol solution produces coatings on the substrate by spraying or dipping or spinning. Particles on sol are polymerized through the removal of stabilizing components and it produces a gel on the state of a continuous network. And finally, you will go into heat rate, pyrolyze the remaining organic or inorganic components and they will go to form the amorphous or crystalline coating. This is the diagram what I wanted to show. The sol gel process, metal alkoxide solution. Okay, so hydrolysis, polymerization, they will form a sol. Okay, sol, coating, and then again all are coating, grinding, precipitating, spinning. So when you get coating and coating, so you're going to get zero-gel film like this. By grinding, you will going to get a wet gel. Okay, either by using a precipitating, you will going to get uniform particles. Okay, while spinning, so you will going to get this furnace and then ceramic fibers like this. You will going to get it. This is the water process where how we can get metal alkoxides get converted into sol and how sol gets converted into the gel and then how the gel will be formed for to obtain the nanoparticle. This is evaporation. So extract the solvent. Yeah, we just complete this. The advantages of sol gel technique, it can produce a thin bond coating to produce excellent adhesion between metallic substrate and to top coat, means it will act as a thin coating and provides adhesion, can produce thick coating to provide corrosion protection performance, can easily be shaped material into complex geometries in a gel state, can produce high purity products because of organic metallic precursors desired, and can have low temperature sintering capability, usually 200 to 600 degrees centigrade, can provide a simple, economic and effective method to produce high quality coatings. So these are all the advantages. They have low sintering capability, they can provide simple, economic and effective method, and they can produce high purity products. These are all some of the advantages. When it comes to the applications, it can be used in ceramic manufacturing processes as an investment casting material or as a means of producing very thin films of metal oxides. Other elements can be easily incorporated into the final product and so. Other products fabricated with this process includes various ceramic membranes for microfiltration, ultrafiltration, nanofiltration, and pervaporation and reverse osmosis. So these are the advantages of the applications of sol gel method. Okay. So I will stop at this point today. So next class, tomorrow's class, we will go into continue with the things. Okay. So if you have any clarification, you can talk to me so that you can stop this class and we'll be having the next class to attend. So tomorrow's class, I will continue with the same thing. So we'll start from 10:50, and I'm going to share the meeting link with you tomorrow. Okay. So if anybody having any clarification, can talk to me before I start. Any clarification, my dear students, you can talk to me, you can have an interaction with me.